All right, guys, we just passed 100 subscribers. Thank you all so much for all the support. Thank you for everyone who has decided to subscribe to the channel, everyone that has been dropping likes on the videos or leaving me encouraging comments. I truly, truly appreciate it, and I'm going to continue to try my best to get y'all a fantasy baseball video every single day. Now, y'all know that I eat, breathe, and sleep fantasy sports. I love Major League Baseball at the same time, but I'm not going to lie here. I am not nearly as knowledgeable with fantasy baseball as I am with some other fantasy sports, although I understand projections, I understand overall concepts in rotisserie leagues and what we should be targeting with sample sizes in particular. I would prefer to have other analysts on. I would prefer to have guys who specialize in fantasy baseball coming on the show consistently. So if you have any names that you would like to hear of, please go down to the comment section and let me hear them. And then I'll reach out, see who wants to come on. And yeah, that's it. Let's get into the video. And in this video, what we are going to be doing is we are going to be looking at average draft position data from 2020 and 2021 and identifying 3 pitchers who lost a significant amount of value and trying to do a little bit of research behind this, trying to understand why we are seeing this drop off in value and if we think it's justified or you should be going out and targeting these players in your fantasy drafts this season. But our first pitcher that we are going to be pulling up here was drafted as the 3rd pitcher overall just last season, and now he's fallen down to the 3rd round in fantasy baseball drafts in 2021. And this is Max Scherzer. So obviously a big reason for this fall is his age. I mean, he's 36 years old. We know that at this point, there are going to be question marks on how long he can keep this up. And if you look at the number drop off from 2019 to 2020, a lot of people want to say that he's not coming to the end, but he is no longer that elite option at the pitcher position. But like we learned when we talked to Michael last week, really age is just overvalued in fantasy baseball in a lot of the scenarios. What we need to be doing is we need to be following the statistics season over season over season and looking for any common trends that we may see. But this is a big problem in fantasy baseball this year in that 2020 really does not give us a good picture of who these players are. This is something that I've been talking about almost every single video now, and that it's so hard to bring anything of value from the 2020 baseball season just because, I mean, Max only went out there and pitched 67 innings, and in that small sample size, really anything can happen where, yes, pretty much everything went up. We saw his ERA go up. We saw his whip go up. We saw his opponent batting average go up at the same time. But what we still had in 2020 is we still had an elite strikeout per inning ratio where he was averaging about 1.37 strikeouts per inning. That's something that we definitely love. And it's not like the ERA went through the roof. I mean, it was still under 4. It was at 3.74 earned runs per inning. And then we go through, I'm sorry, not earned runs per inning, earned runs per 9 innings. Obviously, we know what ERA is. And whip at 1.38, this is drastically up compared to his career numbers. And this is the one red flag that a lot of people are pointing to, where in 2019, when we had the large sample of 172 innings pitched, the whip was down there close to 1, whereas at 1.03. And his whip traditionally has been elite. We know that Max Scherzer has been at the very top of Major League Baseball for a very long time, where his whip has been under 1.0 for 4 consecutive seasons going into 2019, where in 2019 it was pretty much right there at the same time. I mean, in 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, he was able to go out there and pitch full seasons while having the whip under 1. Now, obviously, he was younger when he was going out there and doing this. Obviously, that was in his age 31, 32, 33, and 34 season. So, yes, I think you can point to the small trend of the whip going up year after year over the past 2 and go, maybe we have to be on the lookout here for just a decline in overall ability. But I think that the change in average draft position is maybe a little bit overblown. I think going from the 3rd pitcher overall to then being drafted in the 3rd round is something that is not a smart thing to do if we want to just understand that the sample size in 2020 is hard to take a lot from. I know he was older. I know a lot of people want to point it to him just slowing down, but I'm a little bit hesitant to do so. I'm saying maybe, just maybe, 2020 and his own season was a little bit random in the small sample, and we know everything that went along with that year. So at this point, if you can get Max in the 3rd round of a 12-team draft, I think that's going to be something that we are going to look to consistently do. All right, so now our next pitcher that we are going to bring up is someone who Michael told us last week he finds himself drafting over and over and over again. And this is going to be Stephen Strasburg, who in 2020, he was being drafted as the 6th pitcher overall. And now in 2021, because of the carpal tunnel, a lot of people are worried. Now he's fallen all the way to being drafted as the 19th pitcher in high-stakes baseball drafts. And this was also a dramatic fall-off in his overall average draft position, where in 2020, he was a late 2nd, early 3rd round pick, to where now in 2021, he is all the way down there at pick 65. So he's about in the middle of the 6th round. And I think that this is way, way overblown. Obviously, we have no numbers to look at from 2020 due to the injury. But what we can do is we can go out there and read reports. And all reports are saying that he should be 100% by opening day. We are seeing that he is on track. He's made his progress throughout his recovery, where we do not have to be this worried. Yes, it's something we need to keep in the back of our minds as we draft Stephen Strasburg. But when I'm reading reports saying that he's good to go opening day, what are we talking about here? He's only 32 years old, despite him seeming like he's been in Major League Baseball forever. And in 2019, he had an elite season. I mean, he pitched over 200 total innings. His opponent batting average was sitting down there at 210. His whip was hovering around 1.0. We know that's a great number to be at. And yeah, the strikeouts per inning aren't necessarily up there at a Max Scherzer type level, but they're still pretty high with 1.2 strikeouts per inning. So Stephen Strasburg, especially in those roto formats, I think that he is going to be someone that is a steal in the middle rounds this year. And obviously, Michael talked a whole lot about Stephen Strasburg. So if you haven't watched that video, I recommend y'all going out there and doing so. But yeah, a player that if we load up any drafts this year, I think we are going to find ourselves drafting him very often. Okay, so now possibly the biggest faller due to a couple of reasons here is going to be Charlie Morton, where last offseason he was being drafted at the 40th overall pick as the 11th pitcher off the board. And now he's fallen outside of the top 100. He's fallen down to being the 39th pitcher off the board at 111 overall. And obviously this is due to a multitude of things. This is due to the shoulder injury, as well as the fact that he is 37 years old. So people are starting to get worried about these injuries stacking up, given his age at the same time. And in 2020, his very small sample size did not look good at all. I mean, his ERA was close to 5. He had barely 1 strikeout per inning, and his whip was all the way up at 1.4. But it was only with 38 innings pitched. So I know if we had an entire sample of 2020 with these statistics in his ERA, his strikeouts per inning, and his whip, then yeah, I think that this average draft position is completely justifiable. But even given the injury and even given the poor 2020 season, I think that if you can get him outside of the top, just say 10 rounds in fantasy drafts this year, that's going to be a complete steal. If we just go one season prior to 2019, where yes, I mean, I understand he was 2 years younger. Yes, I understand the injuries were not there. But in 2019, he had close to 200 innings pitched. The ERA was about 3.0, and he was all the way up at 1.26 strikeouts per inning. We know that's a great mark to be at if you are going to cost this little in our fantasy baseball drafts. And the whip was down there at 1.0 at the same time. So I think here people are just being a little bit overconfident in the projection of Charlie Morton to continue to decline through the course of his career. And I think if we can, we are going to be buying at this price point. Now, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. As always, if y'all did, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, It helps us out a ton, and I will see y'all with the video tomorrow.